Welcome to our second month of the Gathering Table. We hope that last month's presentation inspired you and encouraged you, and that you had a great time in your small group.
And that you're burning those beautiful candles, this crisp fall air, and that you're feeling nice and cozy and ready for another episode at the Gathering Table.
So this month, we are so excited to have Briana Leach with us. She's going to be sharing about mental health and motherhood. She is a wife, she's a mom, she is a licensed counselor. She hosts a podcast every week, and she also teaches at Evangel University. So she really does a lot of stuff, and she is excited to share with us this month, and we hope that you enjoy.
Hi moms, I am so glad to be here with you today. My name is Briana Leach, and I am a wife and mom of 3 myself. I have a 9-year-old son named Kason who loves sports. I have a 6-year-old son named Dalton who loves outer space, and a 4-year-old daughter named Meadow who loves people. And this is a really hard season for her because social distancing is not compatible with her personality. But I love being a mom. I'm also a licensed counselor, and I absolutely love speaking to moms about the topic we're covering today, which is mental health. And that term sometimes maybe evokes a little bit of discomfort, or maybe it sounds too sciencey. So I like to talk about just being yourself overall and your health overall. It shouldn't be in categories, but you as a whole person, how God created you, is important. So I'm going to dive into some definitions and some things that will go a little bit deeper, but my goal and my heart is that you feel seen and heard and know that you're not alone in this. And I just hope that I can bring a little bit of my professional background and knowledge as a mom and as a counselor to benefit your life a bit more today. So the definition of mental health, if we're going to get into some specifics. So it's a person's condition with regard to their psychological and emotional well-being. So that's what I mean about your overall health and well-being. But from the World Health Organization, I like their definition because it's a bit more specific, and I'm curious to hear what you think is your status after you hear this. So the World Health Organization defines mental health as a state of well-being in which every individual realizes his or her own potential, can cope with the normal stresses of life, no pressure, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. That's a lot. Take a moment and consider that. Just how would you rate your current mental health based off of that? Let alone in a year like we're having, but that sounds like a lot. So if the definition overwhelms you, it's okay. Take a deep breath, and we're going to dive in a little bit more. So as a mom, we are constantly multitasking, taking care of other people, taking care of our spouses, our community, other people in our household, in our church. And how many of you would honestly say you prioritize your mental health? Maybe you take care of your physical health by exercising. Maybe you take care of your spiritual health by attending church or watching online. But if mental health is very low on the priority list, or not even on there at all, that's why I'm here today. So in John 10:10, we know that verse. If you're familiar with the Bible, it talks about God wanting us to have life more abundantly, life to the full. And again, in 2 Corinthians 12:9, God promises that His presence and His strength is made perfect in our weakness. So if you're feeling overwhelmed right now, take comfort in that. It's okay, and God's going to make His strength perfect in your weakness. So those both sound kind of easy when you throw it out there. Life to the full, strength's going to be made perfect. Okay, got it. But why is there still such a struggle to have positive mental health, to have strength in our heart and in our mind? Not to over-spiritualize it, but I honestly feel like the enemy has a targeted attack on moms as a leader in our home, as a leader of our children, and the heart of the home. A targeted attack on doubt and discouragement. It's not the enemy trying to lead moms into a life of crazy sin or anything like that, but just enough off the path to doubt yourself, to be discouraged, to not be able to fulfill your full potential. And that's my personal mission, is to combat that by helping you strengthen your mental health. And there are a few things that really contribute to negative mental health, and I'm going to cover those 3 real quick. So the first one is unrealistic expectations. That's number 1. What has shaped what you think being a mom looks like? If someone says, hey, you're a mom, here's your new job title, what does that look like? Do you immediately think of your mom growing up? Do you immediately think of what you see on movies or TV, or what you see in social media, or maybe someone else who had an influence on your life? Does your life look like you had imagined? That shapes your expectations. If you constantly paint a picture of something that's not your reality, then it's going to bring discontentment. It's going to shift your focus on what could be rather than what is your reality, and being okay with that. Do you put unnecessary pressure on yourself? Maybe looking at Pinterest, as much as I love it to gather ideas for parties and for decorating and stuff like that, it also can add a lot of unnecessary pressure that we do not need on our lives, especially right now. And realizing and being okay with not being a Pinterest mom. I wear that badge. I tell my boys' teachers every year, just a heads up, everything I bring is store-bought or not homemade, but I'm happy to send in gift cards and cash. So anything you need. And I'm okay with that. There's freedom in being you and knowing that you are uniquely created, and we'll get to that in a minute. So number 1, unrealistic expectations. Number 2, comparison to others. We're all guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. I'm sure you are too. We are looking at other people, engaging, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? Does this look okay? But the first thing I want you to ask yourself is, who or what is my measuring stick? How do I know if I'm on the right path? Or how do I know if I'm doing enough? Who or what are you measuring yourself to? And then staying in your lane. So we all know, biblically, we're in a race. In our everyday life, we are in a race, just trying to get to whatever the potential is for our life, whatever our goals are, and you're staying in your lane. Excuse me. You can't run if you're doing this or this. You're going to be distracted. Like I said, the enemy would love to distract you, discourage you, just get you off that mark just enough to crash into something else or to not make it to where you are supposed to be. So learning to stay in your lane, stay focused on your family, your community, your environment, and not worrying about if it looks the same as this person or this person, because they're running their own race as well. And what's one thing you're really good at as a mom? Sometimes when I ask this to groups, I get this look, deer in headlights. I could tell you a list of 5 things I need to improve right now, but I think one thing that boosts your mental health in a little bit, I call them micro practices, a little bit each day, cheering yourself on. What's something small today that you've done that you're proud of? Did you get all your kids buckled in their seatbelts? Point for you. Good job. Did you help your high school student get all that paperwork in the backpack or get that online assignment submitted? Throw yourself a party and cheer every small win on. It's so important to have that inner dialogue going of, I can do this, this is tough, but I am tougher, knowing that you are your biggest cheerleader, and the Holy Spirit will lead that and affirm that and help you realize we're on the right path, we're staying in our lane. So number 2 is comparison to others. Number 3 is lack of self-awareness. So this is one I'm extremely passionate about because I, not only as a counselor, but I've dubbed myself as a self-awareness educator. I feel like my goal in life is to help people realize how cool they are and how uniquely they're created. And so any way you can take steps towards knowing who you are. We all know we are created by God. We all know our identity is truly in Christ, but we also know God created ice cream. And there are so many flavors and textures and colors. And you can't just say, God made ice cream. You have to be able to break it down into what makes this one special and what makes this flavor different and what are the unique makeups of all of these people. You get where I'm going. So how well do you know yourself? Do you notice when you are getting stressed? Do you notice when you're near burnout? Are you self-aware enough to pick up warning signs that your body, that your mind, that your spirit sends you? Do you listen to the dialogue that's in your mind? Or are you even aware of it? Sometimes the busyness of our daily life, of our schedules, of the news, of family situations drown out the voice that's inside. So the still small voice we know is the Holy Spirit. And being able to filter and listen to that voice. Are you aware of that? And then personality tests. I am all about those. My particular favorite is StrengthsFinder, but Enneagram, different ones, MBTI. There's a lot of different personality tests. I think they're great. They're not, the Bible. It's not a firm scientific, it has to be this way. But if it gives you insights into how God created you uniquely, then I'm all for it. If it can empower you and it can help you realize that what you're doing is normal and that it's not odd or there's no one else like you, then I'm all for it. So lack of self-awareness, that's the third one for sure. And part of that is being aware of your physical reaction to emotions, your physical reaction to situations. Have you ever stopped and thanked your body for warning you or alerting you of something happening? Sometimes I'll talk about something or a situation, and I literally feel the blood pulsing through my arms and my fingers. And I have to stop and say, thank you, God. You're telling me to take a breath. I'm literally running a marathon emotionally, and I need to pace myself. I need to slow down, maybe sit down physically and take a drink of water. But paying attention to that is the biggest gift you can give yourself because it helps you be more in tune to your spirit, to your heart, and to your mind. So why does any of this matter? Why are we even talking about this? If I were to talk to you about an exercise regimen, it'd probably make more sense. Okay, that makes sense. That's why we do this. But understanding and working towards positive mental health is extremely important because chronic stress can lead to high dosages of the release of the hormone cortisol, which can turn into high blood pressure, heart disease, even obesity and diabetes. So there is a direct correlation between your mental health and your physical health. So to say this year has been a bit of a doozy would be the understatement of the century. There are some of you that are listening that feel like there is no way you can not only stay in your lane, but even run your race today. And that's okay. I would like for you to sit down, either physically. Some of you are multitasking. You're watching this while you're cleaning up or helping with kids or doing the dishes. But even sit down on the inside. Take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Slow yourself down. It's okay if you can't run your race today. I want you to think of a guy named Shadrach. Okay? I'm going old school, flannel, Sunday school for you. I want you to think of a guy named Shadrach. In the book of Daniel, we're introduced to the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Even growing up in church, I still wonder if I'm pronouncing his name right. Abednego. If you grew up in church, you might have seen this on flannel boards, like I said, but the gist of it was that these guys were advisors to Daniel, who worked very closely with the king. And the king said, everyone has to bow down to this idol, and if you don't do it, you're going to be thrown into fire. And the guys refused. Shadrach and his friends refused. And their punishment was being thrown into the fire. And some of us might pray that we never get thrown into the fire, or that things get stopped before. Surely God won't let us go into the fire, right? But they get thrown into the fire. So Shadrach's in there, They're like, we did what we were supposed to do. We obeyed God. They said, even if not, he's still God. And who shows up in the fire with them? A fourth person. And we know that's Jesus. So what I get from that story in the year that we're in the struggles that we have mentally, in the fires that we're all in, is knowing that not only is Jesus right there with us in the fire, because sometimes we get thrown in, even unexpectedly, even by choice. We are in the fire and Jesus is there with us. So he meets us right where we're at. But you know what else I see? Shadrach wasn't alone. And the enemy would love for you to think that you're the only one feeling this way right now. And the enemy would love for you to think that there's no one else that's going through what you're going through. I mean, something must be wrong with you. Your spiritual life must be not as strong as it should be. But when you look at the story, Shadrach wasn't alone. His friends were right there with him. There were other people in the same situation, in the same fire. And God met them right where they were at. And that's what God will do for you as well. I want you to take away something today. I'm obviously passionate about having conversations about mental health, especially within the church and especially with moms, because there's this lie and this deception that if you struggle with anything mentally, emotionally, that something's wrong with your spiritual health. And I am really sorry if that's ever been communicated to you, that if you struggle with depression or anxiety, that you need to pray harder. That's a lie. And if you broke your arm, I would not walk up to you and say, you just need to pray harder. And I think that's really what's happening here. It's broken. Good luck with that. No, I would grab my keys and drive you to urgent care. So I pray that we are so close to that being the norm within the church, within our communities, within groups of mom friends, that you can be open about any struggles you have with mental health, that you can be open at the feet of Jesus, just knowing that he cares about you. The Bible talks about your mind, just scriptures about your mind over 122 times, and then all the other scriptures about thoughts in your heart. Think about it. Guarding your heart, the Bible is referring to guarding your thoughts. It's talking about where your treasure is, there your heart will be. So where you invest your time, where you invest your energy and your resources, that's where your thoughts and your heart and your mind is going to be. So one thing I get a lot after talking about mental health to groups is, when should I see a counselor? I want to hit on that real quick, but short answer is yesterday. So if you see a doctor for preventative health, you should be seeing a counselor for preventative health. It's not something that you rush to a counselor when you have an issue. If you're doing just fine, go talk to a counselor. I see a counselor. I wish I would have years ago, even as I was training to become a counselor. But Jesus is not only our great physician, and we see a doctor, he's also our counselor, and we can see a therapist or a counselor. There's nothing wrong with that, and I highly encourage it. Jesus modeled self-care and all that he did, and wanting to know how you were created, who you are, how you can cope with stresses of life. That's something that there is nothing wrong with getting professional help with that, and I hope you do. So today, I hope you leave our time together knowing a few things. So one, you can set realistic expectations for yourself. Lower that bar. We have the asterisk of during a pandemic of everything we do this year. So if birthday parties are much smaller, if holiday celebrations are much smaller, if your day-to-day routine is smaller, wonderful. Take care of yourself, stay in your lane. Number two, you don't have to compare yourself to anyone else. As a person and as a mom, God assigned those children to you, however they got to you, whether it be through biological birthing them, through adoption, through foster care, through any life circumstance. You were assigned that child or those children, and you are exactly who they need. And I'm so thankful God's mercies are new every morning, and for your household. You don't have to worry about anyone else. Even this morning I said to my son, stay in your lane. Don't worry about your brother. Just focus. Stay in your lane and focus and don't compare. Number three, you can increase your self-awareness by listening to your mind and body and taking steps to get to know yourself a bit more. And number four, if you hear nothing else today, you are never alone. You're never alone. Think about Shadrach. Yes, it came to the point he had to walk in the fire, like many of you are right now. But there were others in the same struggle, and Jesus met them right where they were at. God cares about your mental health. God cares about you. And I'll leave you with my favorite verse, which is 2 Timothy 1:7. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. I want to pray with you real quick before we go. Dear God, thank you so much for every mom listening right now and watching this video. Lord, I pray that you would meet them right where they're at, in their fire, in their everyday life. God, give them fresh mercy for today. Help them to know that they're not alone, that you care about them, you uniquely created them. God, I pray that they would take these words and this talk and apply it to their week ahead and just be able to embrace who they fully are as they trust in you every single day. We love you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you so much, Briana, for joining us today and sharing from your heart with our moms. I just have loved every second of the things that you had to say. And I think it's so important, especially in this time that we're in, that we normalize this and we talk about mental health and we get it out there. We've all got issues. We've all got stuff that we are struggling with. And just to talk about it in here, that everyone, we're not alone in the fire. Others are there with us, including Jesus. But there are practical things that we can do. And I really absolutely loved the picture that you mentioned about he is our great physician, but we still have a doctor. He's our counselor, but we can still have a counselor here on earth that is well-trained and gifted by God that can walk through things with us.
Absolutely.
And I just think that that's so important for all of our moms to hear. And I also am going to get on the phone with a counselor because it's not something that I've done before, but I'm always, anytime I have friends or family who work with a counselor, I'm thinking, man, you are having a good time, and I want to get in there and talk through my problems. So, I'm just really excited about that.
I think when you talked about realistic expectations, I so identify with that, and I almost being unaware that my expectations for myself are so high at times. And I came to a place maybe a couple years ago where, we talk about perfectionism with tasks and things that we do, and I'm not a perfectionist in tasks, but I realized I can tend to be a relationship perfectionist, and I want every interaction with people, with the store clerk, with my kids, with my husband, with the person on the phone. I want it to be perfect. I want there to be harmony, and I realized that is leading me to a place of doubt, and I would replay conversations because I felt like it wasn't perfect. And I had to realize, Jill, it's not meant to be perfect. And setting that realistic expectation that God doesn't expect me to be perfect in every situation, and people don't need me to be perfect in those.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy? It took how many years to learn that?
Way too many.
I know. And you were like, well, I wish I would have done this sooner. More sleep. Yes. No, that's really good.
High grace and low guilt, even in those relationships, like how you interact with that one. So I know one of the things a couple things stood out to me, the guard your heart, and that's guarding your mind, so your thoughts, what the self-talk is on the inside, because the enemy, I love how you pointed that out, that's not the big things all the time that the enemy's trying to dive in at moms, but it's our minds, it's our thoughts to get us discouraged and down and compare, but to guard that and to give what he's given inside of you to your kiddos, to your family. And then I loved how you said, watch what you invest your time in. Essentially pick and choose those things that are going to build up and not tear down in that. And then Jill, one thing that honestly made me just think of you, even as a friend, talking about that of you're not alone. You're never alone. I remember calling Jill probably end of summer and saying, hey, there's an opportunity with our homeschool stuff, and I'm just feeling, and I just let her know all the things, and her knowing me as well as she did, so it was a safe spot for me. Like I knew I could call her and she could tell me. I know you, and I know if you don't do this now, or this is what I'm hearing from you. And just being able to share, know that I wasn't alone, and her to say, hey, I know you well enough to know your heart, but how is this going to make you feel? And not being alone in it, walking through it, I could tell you where I was on my back patio, where the pressure just lifted, because it was like, Lord, thank you, one, for a friend, and two, for the honesty of being able to say, this is really overwhelming for me. And I had a friend walk in that with me, and it really was the Holy Spirit leading, and those divine moments where you partner up and you armor bear for each other. And I felt like you covered that, like, we're not in the fire by ourselves. Jesus is there, but it helps to have those linked arms, and I think that's so purposeful, especially for this season.
Oh, yeah. Isn't it amazing? I'm sorry, I'm just noticing your body reacting to the story that you're telling, like your face and her emotions, and just being like, your body keeps the score. It knows what's going on. Like it knows, even if we say things otherwise. But I know the linking arms thing, I always think about, we're taught our whole lives we need, what is it? Food, shelter, water. Like those are basic essential needs. But we also need hope, purpose, and connection. And it's like when those moments, you knew you had a purpose, you were moving towards it, but you didn't have the hope or connection. Right. So connecting to someone else brought that, and it's still that fresh for you to feel, like, to relive it and feel the weight of that was lifted, and just the purpose that gave you to know, like, okay, I always say you're sitting down on the inside, like a sigh of just, okay, I'm okay, I'm going to get through this, even though we're rarely sitting down in real life. Besides this, usually we're just always on our feet and going. So that's awesome.
And it reminds me the value of what those relationships are, the investment that is, and that you're thankful for high grace and low guilt even in those. But but that we really can't, even during a pandemic, or even during life before or after, do it by ourselves.
Right.
And so it makes you really thankful for the value of those friendships.
Yeah.
So Briana, could you speak to self-care for a second? Because I think that's something that we've heard as moms over the last few years so much. We hear those words, and I think there's a spectrum of how we react. You know, there's some of us who are like, yeah, self-care. That means I need 3 hours of alone time every day, and I need to go to the spa all the time, you know? And then there's others who feel guilty, and they think, no, you know, that's selfish or whatever. So how do you kind of find the middle of the road, and how do you find the healthy way to do that?
Yeah, there's a lot there, and I've had the privilege of speaking to a lot of moms groups, and that's the uniform response is self-care is selfish. Or maybe even if you've been in a church setting or a ministry setting where you're not supposed to put yourself first, we're taught that, and that is biblical, but I also know that Jesus modeled self-care for us, and I love when you really break down the Gospels and look at how Jesus lived his life. It's right there, and we usually don't pay attention to it, but when the boat's rocking, where was Jesus? Taking a nap. So you think they're all freaking out. He's saying, I got to recharge before the next ministry setting, so I'm going to go take a nap. When things were getting wild and crazy, what did he do? He retreated. He went and prayed. He got alone. Maybe it wasn't 3 hours. I mean, yeah, it might be something different in the desert, but just being able to retreat from everyday life, taking a pause, doing something, whatever that translates to in your life. But and then Jesus always met social needs before he met spiritual needs. So when he gets to the group of 5,000, think about it. That's just the men, but the women and children too. He fed them first. He said, "Sit down, let's eat, then I'll talk to you about God." You know, so he met the social needs. So understanding the hierarchy of, in psychology we learn about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and the base level is biological needs. So there are things we have to take care of before we can do anything else, other learning, other growth, and seeing that Jesus modeled that, and I guess resting and knowing that if I'm modeling my life after Jesus, then I need to take care of myself. Before I jump into my calling, my purpose, my day, I need to retreat, I need to rest, I need to feed myself. If you're not sleeping and eating, you can't function as a mom. You can't function in your job or whatever you're doing. So knowing that that's the foundation helps me say, nope, not selfish. Let's put that to bed, literally go to sleep and be done, and then move forward saying, self-care to me, how I define it, is anything that makes you feel more yourself. So when you think back to who you were before you were a wife or a mom or whatever role you're in right now, let's rewind 15, 20 years. And, or maybe if you have older kids, go back further than that. But thinking of what made you you. So it's like Jill, okay? When you had Jill moments, maybe there's certain music that pops in your head or certain activities that pop into your head. Or Jen, maybe you loved to be in certain clubs or sports or things that were you. Even going further back, when you were a little girl, what were things that even thinking about it right now makes you smile. Something might be popping up. So if you can implement something little like that, I mentioned it before, but micro practices. So little things. So for me, we have to commute places. We have to do daily chores. So what can I habit stack, add into my day that I view as self-care? So for me, it's listening to podcasts. It's listening to the old school lunch hour on the radio, because apparently I'm old school now. But I turn it on, I'm like, I know all these songs, it's great. But it transports me to a time where I didn't have as many commitments. And so that's kind of, I always picture it like, hey, Briana, it's Briana. I'm here. Like, don't forget, besides all the other hats you have to wear, just kind of going back into me, even like childhood songs or Sunday school stuff, anything that brings you back. So the biggest thing with self-care, though, because I could talk about it all day, there is no one size fits all. There's one person might be bubble baths. One person, it might be a run or a jog. I don't understand that, but it might be a jog. It might be, I'm just kidding for those of you who love to jog. But it also could be calling a friend. Knowing yourself more, whether it's connection with others or connection with yourself or connection with the Holy Spirit. What is it in that moment? It might vary from day to day. Knowing in different seasons of your life, you have different demands, different things on your plate, and knowing where's one area where I can just connect with myself. And it doesn't even have to be a certain amount of time. So picking up a cup of coffee, strapping your kids in the back, and just taking 5 minutes to yourself to kind of tap into your 5 senses of, what do I smell? What do I taste? I'm touching this. It's just very grounding as part of your self-care. So I hope that answers your question a little bit. There's a lot of different directions you can go with it.
And I also feel like I'm learning so many smart words and phrases, like micro practices and habit stacking. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good.
You're probably already doing it, but now I just gave it a term. You're good.
In my house, we like to do reading rest time. So kids, they either get to read or they get to rest, which then they'll choose to read, most likely. And but it makes me feel like my day is so much better when I take that bit of time and I listen to a podcast, and it's what you said, focusing on me, taking a little bit of time, focusing on all the things around the house and my kids, and just taking some time.
But you have to schedule it.
Yes.
You have to build it in. Yeah, that's hard.
And of course, that's best case scenario. And there's days where we're like, I don't know what's going on. Oh, it's 3:30, and what time? All of that, of course, happens too.
Dinner? I have to fix dinner? What?
Hey, that can be self-care. Ordering takeout, doing, scheduling in. There's a podcast I listen to, and she calls it scheduling your hot dogs. Like, there's going to be a week or a night this week that I know it's going to be easy, and I can just not even think twice about it. I think that's self-care too.
So speaking of podcasts, you have one.
I do.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. I'll just build the suspense. No. It's called Grace in Progress, and it's all about taking a few moments out of your day, doing exactly what we're talking about, get to know yourself a bit more, and learn to take steps towards who you're created to be, but also give yourself grace in that process. Episode 50 just came out, which is pretty crazy. It comes out every Wednesday. They're all less than 20 minutes, so a short commute, unloading, loading the dishes. The goal for me is I don't feel like some of my counseling knowledge or stuff that I've experienced should be kept to myself. So in talking with friends and different people when I started it just over a year ago, I felt like this is a bite-sized therapy in your week. And that's the feedback I've gotten, is that a lot of people don't take the time to see a counselor, or maybe don't have access to it in their community for one reason or another. And this helps teach some tools, gives you something for your week ahead to apply that's practical right away. So yeah, Grace in Progress. It's on all the podcast platforms. I can get it on Amazon Music, just added podcasts, Google Podcasts, Apple, iTunes. So yeah.
Well, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We've
It's
learned
been so fun.
much. So.
We're excited. This month you're going to be getting something else on your front porch delivered. And so, Jill, do you want to tell them who to be looking for this time?
Yes, we have a fantastic team of mentor moms, and that term means this is a generation of women who have gone ahead of us. They have walked that well-worn path of motherhood. Their kids are grown, and they just want to invest in you. They want you to feel loved and seen. And not only are they delivering our gifts, but they're also taking a list of names and they're praying for you by name each month. So if you see them, you can greet them, and if not, just know that they are praying for you.
And this month we wanted to invest into a little bit of your self-care. And we, if you've noticed, have been drinking and self-caring for ourselves throughout the whole morning from Dark Stone coffee. And so be on the lookout for your next gift, which would be taking some time to go get a coffee or a tea or something cold for yourself over the next month or so. And all the fall scents and all the fall flavors are coming out. So we just want to invest in you, and you get a little cup of love and a little bit of cherished feeling from the gathering table.
So moms, thanks again for joining us this month. We hope you enjoyed it. And next month, come back again because we actually have an exciting speaker from out of town. Her name is Melissa Alfaro. She is a pastor from Texas. She is on the executive presbytery of the Assemblies of God, so she is one of our women leaders, and she is also a mom. So she's going to share with us from her heart. We're looking forward to it. We hope that you join us next month at the gathering table.